for example, if you're aware of like how door mechanics work, if you legitimately don't know how door mechanics work and it happens all the time, you're just gonna bleed time everywhere. And then somebody said, hey, this is how door mechanics work. You're gonna look for those door mechanics elsewhere in the game, and you're gonna strategize and create gameplay around that, right? So I'm applying that to a little bit more complex speedrun mechanics, like what natural gameplay is, optimizing movement at a very high level. Because what happens is, and talk about this unnecessary movement thing, if you don't know unnecessary movement is bad, you're not doing the wrong thing, or you could argue that, but or whatever. I honestly, it sounds like a good thing, but you're not losing. We'll call that. You're not losing, but you don't know what to do. You don't understand the game in that sense, and so that's a lot of my arguments with the understanding, where it's like you actually have to fundamentally change that. You can't just agree with something. Like agreeing to something doesn't work, and you see a lot of people do that. Like a lot of people do that with my arguments and my ideas, and it's like I think natural gameplay is so great, it's so powerful and profound, is because inherently it solves this problem, right? Inherently it's about understanding something. Like you have to understand it. If you don't understand it, and actually I made a comment. I was talking about macronatural gameplay like a while ago, and I said if you don't understand it, Toby, I was talking to you, Toby, actually. It doesn't work. There's no solution if you don't understand it, right? That's why I'm against passive solutions. Like one of these passive solutions is like I think natural gameplay does solve itself, or it is already applied to itself, or something like that. Because I say that a lot. That was one of my arguments about macronatural gameplay. I don't think I was macronatural gameplay. I think I got confused, because the argument of macronatural gameplay is you have to naturalize natural gameplay, which is true. You have gameplay that's natural, like to make a strategy that's natural. And then you realize, oh, this is a strategy I can recreate, I'm confident with. And then you have to figure out how deep that, like how far you need to push that strategy, right? But that's extremely complex. That's hyper complex, because you can't just say, okay, at frame 5 I jumped, right? Or between frame 3 and 7 I jumped. You can't just say that. It doesn't work like that. There's a million different factors going on. And there's like tons of situations, and you have to prepare for like future situations. So you're kind of doomed if you want to make like, if you want to, try to find these like rigid rules. You can with just finding a strat though, because it's a strat, right? All my strats are rigid. There's no flexibility, and there's a little bit of flexibility, but not really. You actually kind of want rigid strats so that you can depend on yourself to do them. So that's kind of the thought I had, and I'm gonna reiterate. It is getting rid of the unnecessary movement, cleaning out unnecessary movement. And the reason I was talking about the understanding thing is because what I'm doing now in Link of the Past, and what I was doing in that last run I did, I was realizing a lot of the stuff I'm doing in the game is either creating unnecessary movement or it's potentially creating unnecessary movement. So that's kind of what I mean by this understanding thing. So what this has done, I understand the game differently now, right? Because to me, unnecessary movement is really bad. It's slower. Unnecessary movement is actually slower. Or if you look at terms of something that's just theoretically optimal, or just task optimal, and there's a lot of reason I don't like this terminology. If you look at something that's just task optimal, unnecessary movement is not slower. But if you look at a natural perspective, an unnecessary movement, it actually ends up being slower, because it's worse, right? You make mistakes, and then you actually get worse results. So it actually is slower, right? So to me, it's actually faster to not have unnecessary movement. So, and let's say I just figured this out today, which is true, I did. Now the whole game, I'm going to try to limit the unnecessary movement, and one way to limit unnecessary movement, if I'm trying to grab a tree, I need to make sure I actually grab the tree and then pull back, because I don't want to mess up, right? There's a lot of potential unnecessary movement with that. Maybe you'll move left. Maybe when you go to grab the tree, you accidentally move left. Maybe when you pull back, you do it too early, and then you dash, and then you press back. This is a lot of unnecessary movement, and it's all over the game. I'm trying to think of a good one. Usually, a lot of it I think is like doing left rights, or like on Mothula. That was a really, really good example. But and the cold stare at Ice Palace, there's a lot of really good ones with like the pots. So like one room you fall down into the pit, and there's two Stalfos. There's like one up here, one down here, and you need to grab a pot, walk up, walk down, and then I think you throw it. You walk up, press down, and throw the pot. So that's really interesting, because you have to grab the pot. You have to walk up past the middle line. You have to press down from up and then press A. And then you do a diagonal, grab another pot, and then you kind of have to time it right. So that's really interesting because there's a lot of potential mistakes that can be made, and it's a very punishing room. So my whole argument with unnecessary movement there is like, if you're actually actively trying to avoid unnecessary movement, you're going to do the room differently, a lot differently. In fact, you need to be in control. And so this is why I think it actually naturalizes gameplay on a macro scale. It actually does either solve or it leads to a solution to this problem that I've always had. Which, I don't know, I felt like it was a really good idea. I was like, this makes a lot of sense. Like, this is crazy. But what can I work with that? Can I do anything with it? I don't know. I literally just started playing the Pass today. It took about a month break. It's not actually that long. Most of my good ideas come from gaming. Pretty much all of them come from gaming, so when I'm not gaming, if something doesn't work in real time, I throw it away, right? I scrap it. And if something isn't applicable in real time, it's just not worth it. And if I come up with something in real time or conceptual, I think that has a lot of value. To me, that's like high value. So it has to work in real time. I have to actually come up with good ideas, like tangible, something that's conveyable. I'll look for that. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. I'll probably make more videos like this too, because this is really like low key. And then, oh yeah, I also want to talk about another thing where I call it liquid gameplay. So it's like liquidizing gameplay, and what I mean by that is like making gameplay more in your control, so that you can control the gameplay. Like let's say your gameplay skill is like a 10. It caps out at a 10, and someone says a 12, and someone else is a 6 or whatever. Just make up a number. So if you go for like task optimal things, that would require like a 13, right? So there's no, you constantly would be messing up. So the goal is to, or no, that's not that. Scrap that. Basically, you have a window of skill, and so you have a window of skill, and you need to operate within that window. And what happens a lot of times is people go for this crazy stuff, and they're operating outside of that window. And when you operate outside of that window, you mess up, right? Because it's too difficult for you. But if you operate only within that window, you'll get optimal gameplay. You will never mess up. So it's like in Melee, that was one of my arguments in Melee. Like, if your gameplay peaks out at 7, never go past 7. That's kind of the number line analogy. But that's what liquid gameplay is. It's keeping everything under your control, and you should have all optimal gameplay, right? And so, problem with liquid gameplay is it's an effect. It's the result, and you can't tangibly achieve the result. So, we need to find a way to achieve the result without, we have to find the result. We have to find the solution, and that'll get us the result. And that's probably most likely the result. How do you do that? And so I think this idea is real merit. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Also subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed already, and I'll see you guys later. And I'm gonna keep it real.